everyone, I hope you're well. Thank you for joining me once again on my channel. For everybody who has subscribed, a massive thank you. And if you haven't subscribed but like my content, please consider doing so. Also like and share the video if you think this information will be useful to someone else. All in all, I appreciate everybody's support, your feedback, your comments, questions, and absolutely everything. I really thoroughly enjoy the interaction. So let's jump into this video. I'll start by saying that much of what I talk about on this channel centers around the fact that Neville Goddard's role was as an activator, and that's to say someone who was tasked with reminding all of us what we're doing here in the world and what this activity we call life was all about. He referred to some people as being on the verge of transformation, meaning people like you and me who enjoy his work and this type of message, or those who find themselves strangely drawn in and are willing to test metaphysical theories. I mention that to say that you shouldn't be put off if you're the only person who's like that in your family or within your social circle. It can feel a little bit isolating if you're the only person who embraces this kind of philosophy or understands it. But stay the course. We have a responsibility to ourselves. Okay, it's not our job to shake anybody awake. We have to make sure we first know what we're about, what we're doing, that we're fulfilling our mandated role effectively. And then what happens is that we begin to embody this philosophy. So the job of trying to persuade somebody about what's going on or help them to understand is taken away from us. And all we do is draw people in. People become newly curious about the changes they see in us, and they want to experience those kinds of changes themselves. Do you see? So all you need to do is just continue to be what you are. You can believe this privately. This is not something you are compelled to share with anyone. You can believe it completely privately and intimately. But the important thing is that you live by it, you allow it to evolve, to grow, to expand in you. And as I say, as you do that, people will come to you on that basis. So going back to Neville then, he told us that our job in coming into the world was to reflect God back to himself. And we do this through the numberless physicalized expressions that make up the world, ourselves included. In fact, we know and understand that this is necessary, given that God is absolution and has no form. As the emanations or the products of what I call God-think, we are pretty sophisticated and capable of a great many things. We only need to look around at the monuments to great leaders and dreadful leaders and civilizations and human advancements and accomplishments to get a sense of the magnificence of God's most beloved creation, which is us. We're so sophisticated, in fact, that a great many of us have forgotten our source origin and have decided that there is nothing beyond the impermanence of life. In other words, for a lot of people, there just is no God. Human drive and desire are purely spontaneous and have no discernible force behind them. So why does this matter? Why is this important? Well, it points to our dissatisfaction and what we call life's trials and tribulations. So you see, when we get to that state where, okay, there's no God, this is what we're doing, this is all about us, we find that we face trials and tribulations. These are actually the devices that God has given us to assist us in waking up from the dream of life. So we were all in that point, at one time or another, getting to the point where we've completely forgotten what we're here for, what we're doing. And so we face trials and tribulations. And I want you to think about that for a moment. It does seem like some people are going through real hell on earth while others seem to be skating by. That is not actually the case. We all experience the same stuff, just not at the same time. But I want you to be fully assured that life is completely just. Our trials, our tribulations, our jubilations and triumphs are devices, as I say, that help us, assist us in waking from the dream of life. And that's a discussion for another day, but that's what it's all about. That's what they're for. Okay, but life itself is completely just. Let's take, for example, the idea that we have reached consensus as a global community on what good versus bad is. For example, we know in general terms what it means to live in the lap of luxury versus living in abject poverty and in squalor. And what we find that those on the breadline are doing is clamoring for what they believe the haves are squandering. But when we get to the top, we find the people we thought had it all are often in greater torment than the lowliest amongst us. So it's meant to be like that. Human beings are never meant to be satisfied with what they have. And this is part of how we get to remember what we're doing here and who we truly are. In fact, Neville went on to teach us that there is only one way to quell the storms of life, and that's by remembering who we are and using our imagination with a capital I to produce the results we want. Until we do that, we're going to find ourselves toiling aimlessly to satisfy a hunger that can never be satiated. And I think this appears in the book of Habakkuk in the Bible, but don't quote me on this, where it talks about the greater hunger that hits us at some point along the line. And it's like this itch for more than the material, this itch for more than life itself. This hunger is something that nothing in the world can satiate. And that's where this philosophy comes in. So this is, can you see now why Neville refers to it as being on the verge? When you're ready to embrace this philosophy and put its ideas into practice, you're getting to that point of the great hunger that's spoken about in the Bible. And so we're also told by Neville, by other esoteric leaders and teachers and angelic communities, if you like, that this process of awakening, we start it by using our imagination consciously and applying the conscious use of our imagination to the treatment of every conceivable human condition. And so when it comes to being, doing, or having anything, you have to first appropriate it psychologically and then allow by consent these thoughts or ideas to become physical things. That's how we're using our imagination consciously. How this happens is not a human concern and has been given no human language, description, or definition. We simply agree by feeling agreement that what we have thought as consciousness is an immediate physical fact. We exist in a world that outside of what appears in nature is exclusively comprised of outpictured ideas. This makes the conscious use of imagination essential, and if we make it our default, we will trigger our awakening as Christ, the pattern man. Now, the wonderful news here is that rather than acquire new capabilities for doing this, all we have to do is remember the gifts we were sent into the world with. And in a moment, I will share a simple and powerful formula for doing this. But first, I want to mention that it's very easy to acquaint yourself with this general idea of remembering, and you can start by remembering to use the spiritual language of emotion. You're using it all the time, but what we want to do is use it consciously. One of the easiest ways to do that is to first notice how you feel about absolutely everything and everyone around you. Just as you're about to do something, as you're about to talk to someone, just notice any feeling that comes up. These feelings are the vocabulary words of this spiritual language. And this is the kind of thing you can do without disrupting any outward action. You could be having a conversation with somebody, you could be watching TV, you could be walking your pet. All of that is going on. At the same time, you're just noticing how you feel. Those feelings are the vocabulary, the indicators of what you are communicating to consciousness as consciousness. You can also get into this two-way flow by getting into a habit of checking in with your physical body as apparatus whenever you're going to make a decision. I'll give you a quick example. I was looking for a birthday present for my niece, who I absolutely adore, and money really was no object when it comes to my niece. And so I'm online looking for different toys. I know what I want to get her, and I'm getting a no on everything. I'm just, I'm there for hours looking for the perfect gift, and I'm getting a no, and I'm getting a no. And then I obey that, I let it go. And then I get an awareness of a company that I hadn't thought of. I look at their website, and there is a far superior product for a 1/5 of the price that I was going to spend. It wasn't about the money. It was the fact that this was exactly what I was looking for. Not only that, I saw a second gift, which I knew would be absolutely perfect for her. And so this is how it works. When we learn to obey our higher aspect, what we get are things that are far superior that we, through our limited human aspect, would have given to ourselves originally. So this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. We do it all the time. We're aware when we have that feeling of trepidation or that feeling of that gung-ho spirit. These are all examples of the two-way communication that I'm talking about. So it's not as far from you as some of you may think or feel at times, or some of us may think or feel at times. Okay, so let's talk about that. Having spoken about those kinds of inbuilt intuitions, let's go on to the technique itself. I will say that this can feel very strange at first. And I always say that if you feel any distress, please stop and revive yourself and try again another time. It's definitely worth getting into, I'd say, an adventurous frame of mind and an upbeat frame of mind before you start this. And that's because any kind of anxiety tends to exacerbate your feeling of instability when you're in the state that I'm about to describe to you. Okay, so this is also one of many exercises, and I always talk about the fact that you can personalize techniques. And when you do that kind of thing, it can really propel you forward if you want to start to feel more tangibly powerful and recognizably powerful. So we know that we have this part of ourselves that can do all these wonderful things. But if you want to have a more conscious, tangible and recognizable experience of that, this is one of the kinds of exercises that you can do. This is not going too deep. I know a lot of you want more esoteric stuff. We're going to do that by stages. I just want to introduce you to some of the exercises that you can do. And as I say, just have courage, the courage to personalize them. Just check in with yourself and ask for inspiration about what you can do next, what direction you can go in, how you can take things further, how you can modify them. The world really is your oyster. Okay, so for this technique, I do recommend standing if you're able to stand. I started this with Neville's standing technique, but you can sit or lie down if you want to. So this is Neville's standing technique that I, through experimentation, modified and received revelation about how it could be changed and used in the way that I'm about to describe to you. So if you are in a wheelchair or you're unable to stand, don't worry about that. Your greater aspect, your authentic being, will be able to stand, but just feel completely comfortable and at ease if you are sitting down. You can also lie down if you want to, but if you are able to stand, that's something that I recommend you doing. Also, you will need privacy. So your bedroom is probably the best place if you share your living space. So if you don't, you're lucky enough, then go into any room you want to go into. But if you can do this when you're alone, it's great so that you don't get in any way distracted. Okay. So when I say talk about feeling distressed, it's this sensation in your body that might be really strange to you, might be quite jarring. If you find that you're paying closer attention to that than what you're doing, then that's a really clear indication to you that you should stop. And also, just to go back to people who cannot stand, or people who may be paralyzed or things like that, you will probably feel sensations in your legs if you have legs. You will feel sensations, and even if you don't have physical legs, you may feel sensations as though you have them. So don't be distracted by that too much. You may not have felt some of these sensations in your recent conscious memory, but it's absolutely fine. Okay, that's enough housekeeping. So first of all, we know we must start by relaxing, and we do that by taking a cycle of 3 breaths of 4. So we breathe, we empty our lungs for 4 seconds, we hold our breath for 4 seconds, and then we breathe in for 4 seconds, and then we repeat that cycle. Okay, so the last breath that you should do is the out breath for 4 seconds, and then breathe normally after that. And then when you feel sufficiently relaxed, I want you to close your eyes and stop thinking about anything and focus instead on your internal environment. And I want you to imagine that you are looking at yourself beneath your skin. So you start by looking at the sacral part of your body, and then the spinal, at your musculoskeletal system, your cardiothoracic, your pulmonary, your visceral system area. And then start to notice your venal and arterial systems. And just notice how everything interacts. You might see your blood moving around, and that's fine. You may even hear it as though you're listening to a stream flowing by. But be aware that everything has a task, and whether in full or seemingly compromised health, it is functioning under the guidance of its own intelligence. And so you can leave it to do what it knows what to do. And feeling fully assured that your human body knows what it's doing, shift your focus to your eyelids and look into the pearl-flecked darkness that moves and pulses behind your closed eyelids. And accept that your body is now a vast space, a vortex, and an entry point into the physical world, and that your human shell is empty of physical human parts as you switch to your body of consciousness perspective. You may feel pressure across your clavicle on either side or both sides, and a pressure on your shoulders as though you are being held together. Feel this pressure and start to notice that you are exiting your physical human aspect. Feel the weight of your higher self as it uses your shoulders and back muscles to support it as it steps out of you backward. Be aware of a fully formed but transparent being climbing out of your back. Notice a slight pressure at the base of your spine. This is not damaging to you in any way, but will serve as an umbilicus point between you and your greater aspect. Then feel all pressure release as your greater aspect stands behind you, supporting its own weight. Note that you are still connected at the base of your spine. Notice how much bigger and taller your greater aspect is than your physical body. This is you. Notice how huge you are, and notice that you keep getting bigger and taller. Stretch out your arms and notice that you can touch both sides, both walls at the same time. Notice that your greater aspect, has reached the ceiling and can feel the ceiling touching its head. Just allow this to remain for a few moments. If you start to feel lightheaded, ask your greater aspect to guide you to a chair and to sit you down. Remember, you're not using any of the muscles associated with speech or making any audible sound. Just ask to be guided to a chair and sit down. But remember to say thank you, and remember, keep your eyes closed and stay connected. Then for about 30 seconds, watch with your eyes closed as you, as your greater aspect, explores your environment. Look around the space you're in using these eyes, not your physical eyes. Feel everything you touch as your greater aspect. Perceive every smell. Savor every taste. Feel every touch. Hear every sound. Then ask your greater aspect to return to your body and to reunite with you, which means that you are switching back to the human experience. The movement in and out of your physical body by your greater aspect, though a tangible experience, is esoterically symbolic. So as you ask your greater aspect to return, imagine your human body absorbing this translucent but fully formed being, almost like a mist. As you reabsorb your greater aspect, you will be revived in stages until you are fully back and physically present. Take another deep breath. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. You can make the R sound if you need to, and repeat this breathing cycle if you need to. Smile and slowly open your eyes. Then all you need to do is continue with the rest of your day as normal. So you're going to find, or you may find yourself having odd thoughts and feelings here and there after doing this exercise. You may have more intensely vivid dreams, but that is all fine. And that's it for this exercise. You don't have to do anything else. It's absolutely fantastic. It's about you recognizing who you are. It's incredibly effective and very, very powerful. And this is a great way to start. You can learn to do so much more after this. You can do so much more as your physical aspect. You can travel. And then remember, in the Bible, it talks about where you are, there I dwell. I go to prepare a mansion for you. That's to do with what Neville talks about, you going to the state where the things you desire have their natural life and exist there rather than experiencing them on a temporary basis and so on. But this is it. This is a basic bona fide esoteric practice, which this is the type of thing I'm increasingly asked to share. And so I've shared this exercise with you. You can do this once or twice a day. I don't recommend doing it more than that. And this is about remembering who you are. This is so straightforward, but it's immensely powerful. Do have fun with this. As always, I welcome questions about the upload, so feel free to submit those in the comments section below. Until next time, stay phenomenally you. Thank you for listening.